Hi, this time we will explain the storyline of a film called The Italian Job, which was released back in 2003. This film tells about the robbery of an enormous amount of gold bullion and was carried out by geniuses. Let's get straight to the story. This film begins by showing a middle-aged man named John in the Italian city of Venice. John, who just got out of prison, contacted his daughter Stella. He said that he had also sent a gift to his daughter. Previously, John was a reliable thief who specialized in breaking into safes. At that time, a man named Charlie, who was John's subordinate, also appeared because they had made an earlier promise. Charlie had a special skill, which was as a robbery mission planner with an almost perfect track record. Their goal of meeting was to steal a gold bar worth $35 million that was controlled by the mafia. Not only the two of them, but three other thieves named Rob, Gilligan and Lyle also joined the team. Long story short, they immediately headed to the target. It turned out that there was one more member who was waiting for them with all the preparations.
Got it. It's right above you. Got it. Now measure 8 feet 5 inches from the north wall.
When they got there, they immediately took action.
Yeah.
Not long after that, the gold safe was finally stolen using the boat they were using. After that, they also tried to open the gold safe in the water. With the ability of John, who was very skilled in breaking into the safe, they could break into the safe very easily. A few days later, they took the stolen gold bullion to Austria. At that time, John planned to share the loot to all the teams, but something unexpected happened. Steve suddenly betrayed. He and his men attacked and even shot John.
Probably right, John.
Not only that, they also dropped the car into the icy cold water and shot it. Not long after that, John's dead body floated to the surface. Steve thought that the gang was dead and immediately left the place. Charlie, Rob and Gilligan, who survived, agreed to avenge the death of John. A year later, the scene moved to the city of Philadelphia, United States. Stella, who was John's daughter, worked as a consultant as well as a safe service provider for government agencies and inherited the expertise of her father. At that time, Charlie suddenly met her. Initially, Stella didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore, but Charlie told the truth about her father's death, because he had kept it all a secret. Charlie also informed that Steve was the perpetrator of his father's murder, and he had also received information on the man's whereabouts. Long story short, Charlie invited Stella to join his team as a safe-breaking expert to take revenge. Finally, after thinking long enough, Stella also agreed to the offer as a safe breaker with Charlie and his team.
I want to see the look on that man's face when his gold is gone.
Handsome Rob.
The next day, Charlie invited Stella to meet and introduce all the teams, the first being Lyle, the computer expert, Gilligan, the explosives expert, and Rob, the driving expert.
Yeah, they're all fresh and clean. I gotta turn them chips on them.
Not long after that, they immediately devised a plan, and the first plan they did was to spy on Steve's house. This task was left to Lyle to project the location of the house in as much detail as possible using his computer.
Good to work.
After successfully projecting the house, Charlie had a second plan. They had to make sure that the gold safe was really still there, and this task was left to Stella. With excellent planning skills, Charlie asked Stella to disguise herself as an internet network cable technician. The first thing they did was to steal the cars and manipulate the data of the internet company's employees. After that, Gilligan sabotaged the internet network cable at Steve's house. According to the plan, Steve asked his guard to call a technician. At that time, Stella, who was equipped with a surveillance camera on her clothes, looked for the gold, and it turned out that the gold safe was still there.
You got it. There's no wiring in here.
But another unexpected thing appeared. Seeing the beauty of Stella, Steve fell in love and asked her out on a date. After that, they finally planned to steal the gold directly at Steve's house. They would use Stella's car to lift the gold, but before that they had to modify it at Rob's friend named Wrench.
Charlie, this is Wrench. Hey, what's up, man?
After that, Charlie took Gilligan to meet his old friend named Skinny Pete, who was a specialist in smuggling illegal goods, including explosives that Gilligan would use in his actions later. In another place, Steve sold some gold bars to a man named Yevhen. Suddenly, Yevhen remembered the gold bullion stolen in the city of Venice. After hearing this, Steve, who was a little scared, didn't want to take the risk of killing Yevhen, because he didn't want Yevhen to know that he was the robber of the gold bullion. The death of Yevhen was known by his cousin, who was also a mafia named Mashkov. He, who was very angry over the death of his cousin, immediately met his employee named Vance, because Vance knew that there used to be someone who found out about the gold bullion. After hearing their characteristics, their suspicions immediately fell on Skinny Pete. After that, they went to Skinny Pete. He was once asked by Charlie to look for information on the buying and selling of the gold bullion in the city. Long story short, they finally thought that Charlie had killed his cousin. In the evening, Charlie's team wanted to do their stunt, but this action was cancelled because Steve's neighbor was having a party.
We're not blowing any gates tonight, guys.
Having no other choice, they asked Stella to take Steve to dinner. While talking to Stella, Steve became suspicious and asked who she worked for. Without lingering, Charlie and the others immediately came out of their hiding. They also asked for the gold to be returned, but Steve admitted that he had sold all the gold. Charlie, who was fed up with Steve, finally attacked Steve that night. The next day, Charlie was suddenly contacted by Skinny Pete and informed him that currently a mafia named Maskov was targeting them, because they thought Charlie was the owner of the gold bullion that had killed his cousin. Now all their plans were falling apart, but Charlie didn't just give up. He replanned so they could complete his revenge on Steve. It turned out that all this time Steve knew their movements, so as not to be robbed, Steve intended to move the gold bars. Steve's plan actually made it easier for them. Now they didn't have to bother looking for the gold, but the gold is what would come to them. To launch their action, Charlie and Gilligan installed explosives in the underground lane, the path that will be passed by Steve. While Lyle was still as usual, he was busy hacking the traffic lights on the road the city that will make it easier for them to plan later. The next day they carried out the final plan. They were ready in their respective positions. Steve, who didn't want to lose, also seemed to have known that Charlie and his friends would not just stand still. Finally, he hired mercenaries to escort 3 armored cars which were expected to confuse them. With his intelligence, Lyle could find out which car was carrying a safe filled with the gold bullion so that all teams only focused on that car. After that, Charlie asked Lyle to hack the traffic lights to create traffic jams, and also make a route that would be passed by Charlie's team, which were given green light access, so they all head to the underground station quickly.
You're gonna stop right there.
With all their plans, they finally managed to divert the car to a predetermined location. Arriving there, they immediately blew up the road so that the car fell into the ground. Now it was Stella's turn, who would play the role. With skills inherited from her father, in just a few seconds she was able to open the safe containing the gold. The story continued. Steve, who realized he had been robbed, finally ordered his men to chase them. Previously they had transferred the gold to a modified Mini Cooper car. This made all of Steve's men difficult when chasing the 3 modified Mini Cooper cars. Steve, who used a helicopter, then chased the 3 Mini Coopers and only targeted Charlie and managed to make Charlie almost caught. However, with his efforts and hard work, Charlie was finally free and made Steve's helicopter damaged. It didn't stop there. Steve, who was still able to get up, immediately got into the car and went back to chasing Charlie. Meanwhile, Stella and the others had managed to secure the gold. When they got there, Steve came and persuaded Wrench to betray him by asking him to open the gold carriage. But they had planned this carefully. Seeing their arrival, Steve immediately pointed his gun. Suddenly Mashkov, who had actually been working with Charlie, came and immediately arrested Steve. As revenge for her father, Stella landed a fist on Steve's face. After that, they also shared the gold with the mafia in return for their cooperation. They then celebrate the victory on a train.